Welcome to Tucker Carlson Today. Dr. Meng is a medical doctor, a physician. She practiced in China. She's also a virologist. She was in China for the beginning of this global pandemic. But then she defected from China, came to this country and told the truth about what she saw. She believes the coronavirus was created in Wuhan intentionally and unleashed on the world. She joins us now. Doctor, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For joining us. So I want to set the conversation where it first began, which was on our nighttime show. You came on in September. You have direct firsthand knowledge of the origins of the coronavirus, so we were anxious to talk to you. And we asked, where did this come from? And here's what you said.
From my first report, I can present the solid scientific evidence to our audience that this virus, COVID-19 SARS-CoV-2 virus, actually is not from nature. I work with the top coronavirologists in the world. So together with my experience, I can tell you, this is created in the lab. This is from that template owned by China military. And also it is spread to the world to make such damage.
To make such damage, do you believe the Chinese government released this intentionally, on purpose? Did they do this?
Yes, of course, it's intentionally.
There it is. You came on our show and said that, and you were immediately attacked for saying that. In the subsequent nearly a year, I think a lot of evidence has arisen to suggest that you're right. So congratulations on your vindication.
Thank you.
Let me ask you, though, let's get right to the specific charge. How do you know that?
Okay, actually, all these things I know it. The main part that the virus comes from the lab in Wuhan and is made based on the China military owns the specific bat virus, ZC45 and ZXC21, and after modification and then purposely released, it's because back to 31st December 2019, I was secretly appointed by my supervisor, the WHO coronavirus virologist, Dr. Liu Peng, and to do the secret investigation about the Wuhan pneumonia. So through my own network involving the Chinese doctor, lab researchers, and even CDC involved military and also civilian places, I get a lot of information and also combined with my expertise. So until the mid-January, I finally found out that this is from the lab and this is not.
So you were in China at the time. There's an outbreak of this, as you said, Wuhan pneumonia.
I was in Hong Kong.
You were in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Controlled by China now.
Yes.
Unfortunately. You're there, this virus breaks out, and you are asked to try and figure out where it came from.
Exactly, because China government doesn't give any information to even the people in Hong Kong. But
Yes.
my lab is a WHO reference lab. That means it has to surveillance this kind of emerging disease happen in that area.
Yes.
And when the outbreak come out, there are some kind of information came to Hong Kong. So Hong Kong government and WHO both need such information, and then they cannot get it through the official way. So I'm the investigator sent by them to do this kind of investigation.
So that puts you in an amazing position. I mean, you must have been one of the first investigators looking into this.
I think so, especially out of mainland China. And that's
Yes.
why I was warned from the beginning by Dr. Liu Peng, as you should be careful. Don't touch the red line. That means invisible principle. Don't break it. If not, I have to be responsible for that.
Don't touch the red line.
Yes, doesn't mean law. It means the invisible things that China government won't be happy.
What are those things?
Anything. I mean, you don't quite understand what makes them unhappy. But the thing is, the thing, whatever China government doesn't want the people to know or they try to cover up, definitely when you try to touch it, it is already crossed the red line.
Yes, that's right. So your supervisor told you, basically, don't ask too many questions.
Yeah.
What did you learn when you began looking into the origins of COVID-19?
When I just start to get this kind of information from end of 31st to 3rd January, I have my direct contact in CDC in Beijing. And then these are people who first had the first-hand knowledge about the virus at that time. So briefly, China government knows there were things happened in Wuhan, and it's definitely more than they announced. At least for the confirmed cases, they hide 1/3 of patients. And all the patients has to have the seafood market history before they get diagnosed, which is very abnormal. And this kind of...
I'm sorry, let me pause. You're saying that China would not diagnose COVID unless the person who was infected with COVID had been to the seafood market.
Exactly. That's why the first version of the guidance in clinic was confidential at that time. And it's clearly listed. You have the symptom and you have the signs, and also you have to have been to the seafood market. That's why, they try to make their narrative in the seafood market. But human-to-human transmission exists at that time.
Amazing. Did you believe at first that it came from the seafood market?
Before we have any knowledge, we assume it come out from some animal or something because we had experience in SARS-1 and later other things. But since I get more information and I see the government's response, and later I see WHO's covered, and they also help China government to cover up. So according to my knowledge to China government, I realize this is something more than just animal to human.
Yes. You say that WHO helped the Chinese government cover up the origins of COVID. What did you see them do?
Because my lab is the top coronavirus lab in the world, it has extensive knowledge from SARS-1 to MERS to now the SARS-2.
Yes.
And we have not only one expert, we have a bunch of WHO team experts in my lab. So all these people, I know when I immediately respond to my supervisor, and I also know he responds to Professor Malik, the co-head in the WHO lab at that time. Both of them choose to keep silent, and they don't want to make China government unhappy. And also later on, when China insists this is from nature, they even help to organize the big cover-up in the international scientific world. Later on, when you see the Peter Daszak's Lancet statement, actually from the exposed email, both these two supervisors were listed inside, and Dr. Liu signed it.
So they lied.
Yes, they lied because based on their expertise, there is no way they don't know this is from the PLA's coronavirus, because it's not difficult for them to realize something wrong in the genome of virus at that time, and they have other information, I know, but they choose to help China.
When you say it's the PLA's virus, the People Liberation Army virus, this virus was owned by the Chinese military, you said at the outset.
Yes, because China has spent many years, over decades, to search the zoonotic novel virus, which can potentially infect humans. They claim that's for some good purpose, but turns out that they just search all over China and even using their network all over the world to collect the material for study. And this virus is a very ideal backbone after many years finally found by the People's Liberation Army from East China. And because it's very difficult, you find some novel virus and you can successfully isolate it, which I want to emphasize that Wuhan lab, but woman Zheng Lishi, she never successfully isolated the live coronavirus in her lab. But this one is successfully isolated and can potentially infect brain in the mouse, in the rat. So this is very ideal according to the standard from the China government. And then later on, you will see that they secretly conducted many experiments but didn't publish it.
Why?
Because China government, if you verify the document now exposed, including like in 2015, the bioweapon general De Zhongxu has written a textbook, which is kind of open secret, but the guidance for China's new purpose of the new strategy of the bioweapon. They listed clearly that based on SARS-1, they learned that coronavirus is good material to generate a new bioweapon, which is not traditional, but it actually can cause more damage than traditional bioweapon. So I define it as unrestricted bioweapon.
So just to restate, the Chinese military learned from SARS-1 that the SARS virus could be a very effective biological weapon against its enemies. And they spent a number of years looking for the perfect virus to use as a bioweapon. That's
briefly, it's like that. It should not be the only thing they want to do, but at least from that textbook, the name is learn from the SARS-1, and then for the new man-made bioweapon, target human, like this.
It's shocking what you're saying. We had Gordon Chang on the show, and he made the point that in China, among Chinese citizens, many believe this was a bioweapon. In the United States, almost no American can believe that because it's too evil.
Because Americans still innocent and very kind. Americans don't understand the government can do these things to destroy the world, and even like their own citizens become victim in the beginning. But in China, it's like, as you said, Gordon Chang, he is the expert in Chinese issues. And also it's like me, I stay in China from my childhood. And we know that in China, based on Chinese Communist Party's history, these kind of things repeatedly happen and again. So we are not surprised. And actually, China government keep telling this is bioweapon, but they insist that it's from U.S.
You're shocking me. I want to just get back. We'll come back to this, but I want to get back to the cover-up by Western health authorities. I want to play you a soundbite, a piece of tape from Dr. Anthony Fauci, reassuring the United States that we can trust the Chinese government. Here's Fauci.
China has been known to fiddle with their stats before. Do you trust what they are telling us about this illness?
From what I can see right now, they really are being much, much more transparent.
There he is. That's Dr. Anthony Fauci telling us that China's being transparent. They're being honest. Do you think he believed that when he said it?
I mean, to be honest, according to Fauci's position, and he been there for so many years, had connection with China government. If he believed that, then I think Americans should question whether he's still capable in that position.
If he actually believes what he just said, then you think he's not capable of conducting science or something wrong with it?
I don't think so. I don't think he's capable if he still believes China is honest and transparent, and he still believes those people's word. No, it cannot be, because it can be verified from his email.
Yes. He knew China was lying. Everyone knew China was lying.
He knew, but for his personal purpose, he decided to help China government to do the later cover-up.
So I just want to get back to what you said a second ago, that in China, Chinese people, ordinary citizens, have watched their government over decades, and they believe it's entirely possible that this was a bioweapon created for strategic advantage to help the Chinese government against the rest of the world.
Chinese people may not know what exactly China government is working on, but Chinese people, especially those people who are not brainwashed, they really understand that the nature of this government. This government is very inhumane, and they never care about human lives. In democratic countries, human lives are the top valuable things for the whole country. But in China, our government always claims that we have 1.4 billion people. Actually, translate into the word people can understand, it means we have 1.4 billion very cheap things can be used for the purpose they don't care about human life. It can be verified from Xinjiang, from Hong Kong, and also back to the past almost 100 years in Communist Party's history.
So they just look at the world completely different. The individual is not important.
Exactly. They show they are friends to Americans. But in China, they have another set of the propaganda. So their friendship to America or the other countries just for their own benefits. Indeed, China always tells that America is the enemy. And as I said in the textbook from the PLA, they claim that to make the novel bioweapon to the target's to the enemy's area, and even can make it everlasting in the enemy's area to make the permanent damage.
So I have heard Americans say, well, we know that the Chinese military didn't do this on purpose because Chinese citizens died from it.
Actually, they didn't mean to do that, launch it in Wuhan like that at that time. But as I presented in my reports, China government was conducting the trials in the neighborhood. That is also described in their textbook. They have claimed that if you want to know how optimized this bioweapon can be in the targeting population, the best way is to do it in a total similar environment, even secretly in the enemy's area, some location. So it turns out they try to optimize the SARS-CoV-2 in Wuhan in a controllable area, but because they lack of the proper knowledge of the transmissibility of this virus, finally it come out of control, become the outbreak. And also immediately China government conducted cover-up and spread misinformation to mislead the world.
So almost immediately after this outbreak, after the time you became aware of it, we've read that over 1 million people left Wuhan in central China, and a lot of them traveled to other countries. They went all over the world. I think if you were to graph it out, you would see this almost volcano of people getting on planes and traveling to other countries, Italy, the United States, the UK. Why did the Chinese government allow that?
Take the advantage of the outbreak. So the first step is not to purposely launch it in Wuhan, but it's purposely bring it out of the lab in Wuhan.
Right.
The second step is from 23rd January when they locked down Wuhan, because at that time I delivered the message through Mr. Lude's media on 19th January, and China government immediately realized the real insiders start to tell the world the truth, and they had to do some action. So they want to control the things in Wuhan, but they also want to take the advantage and to further destroy the world because it's already happened. And that is their purpose, to make such virus. That's why later you see China collect all the PPE from all over the world and let people go traveling around the world. And then the downstream propaganda machine works. Later on, you will see just the next day, since I revealed these things, China government asked Batwoman to throw out the fake fabricated virus as the ancestor of SARS-CoV-2, the RATG13, to the Nature journal, and also Lancet, like from the Peter Daszak, these people start to work to help China make up and then spread the misinformation.
So there we've got a picture of the Bat Lady Xi Zhongli on the screen. She was lying when she said, we know where this virus came from. Here's the antecedent.
She was lying. That virus actually is not the one she claimed. And as I said, Dr. Xi Zhongli never had isolated successfully get this kind of bad coronavirus. And also the famous Yunnan Man cave story, that they go to search and for good purpose get some virus, that is also to mislead the Americans because it sounds reasonable and it sounds mysterious, and it can take you many, many years to go to search the cave, and then you will forget China military's role behind it.
So just to restate, I want to be really clear about what you're saying. SARS happens years ago. The Chinese military decides this is an effective virus to turn into a bioweapon. They find SARS-CoV-2. They're doing research on it to make it a bioweapon. They test it in Wuhan. It gets out of control. They didn't expect that to happen. At that point, they realize, okay, it's out. They lied about that, but then they intentionally allowed some huge number of people, some infected from Wuhan, to travel around the world to infect the rest of the world.
Exactly, because first they learned the SARS, and China is the best country which has a SARS experience in the world, and
Yes.
they have a lot of materials from SARS time. So like Bad Woman Zheng Shi and the other military scientists, they go to US or other countries, learn some advanced technology, and use it to the coronavirus modification for many years. And then later, when they found appropriate the virus backbone from East China, and then it's like playing Lego. They make
Playing Lego.
add the function. The functions are from different teams which have different expertise in making this gain of function things. So they add it to the virus, and finally the whole virus become the SARS-CoV-2, which carry different kind of gain of functions and target human. That's why later on you see there are a lot of unexplained symptoms happen in the population, and that's also why I insist that we should understand the real backbone from military, because back to that, you can start to study how many functions they added to SARS-CoV-2 and then solve it.
So many questions. Let's just start with the virus itself. You heard eminent, very famous, highly respected American researchers and virologists say we've taken a look at this virus and there's no chance it could have been manufactured in a lab.
I mean, I know this kind of people always telling that there is no way it comes from lab. What I can tell you is China government actually spent many years to infiltrate the scientific world. And also, I know these people, they actually try to help China government for their own purpose. So except for some innocent scientists who may not have enough experience in virus, those top scientists like the Peter Daszak, or like Ralph Baric, or like Christine Anderson, they are lying. They know they are lying. They just try to use misinformation to help China government for their own benefits. And these are all later reviewed again and again gradually.
Well, they should be in prison if that's true, immediately.
Yes.
So you are a virologist. So you look at this virus, and is it obvious to you that it's manufactured?
Yes, this is based on the real virus.
Yes.
And as I said, did Lego things, and all the functions that I can examine and presented in my papers, my 3-yin reports, these functions all target human. Like one function is learned from SARS-1. It likes the human receptor ACE2 very much. So they purposely change the structure of that genome, that part of genome, make it like the hand can carry your receptor very well, and even much better than any other animals. So that's why you cannot find the nature, intermediate host, because the other animals' receptor cannot bind it so well.
Yes,
so this is one function, and the Bad Woman Zheng Shi and Ralph Baric are the expert in this function, and they leave evidence inside as their remarkable things. Also, like fusion cleavage site, it never happened in this kind of lineage B beta coronavirus. It's basically like if a human has a monkey tail, it's not from nature evolution, right?
Right.
Also, it's like Ralph Baric or Robert Gallo. This big scientists claim that, animals can have the tails like monkey have tails, but doesn't mean we human have tails.
That's right.
It's from nature. So this is this other one, which this function access the first function, receptor binding one, to help enhance the infectivity of this virus. And there are several other such functions I have identified including how they use the mouse, transgenic mouse learned from raspberry, and then they enhance the virulence of this virus in human. And also, they keep the identical envelope protein, which is actually what found have the potential brain damage, neurotoxicity in the virus. So the idea they keep this E protein there is very suspicious, especially now we see the SARS-CoV-2 with such E protein, they really can cause like 1/3, according to Lancet paper, 1/3 of patients after COVID-19 has a brain damage or neuro symptoms. All these things.
1/3 of COVID patients have brain damage?
It's like not only brain damage, they have like depression, this kind of emotional change, or someone like lose the smell, and some has kind of a headache. All this we call it a neurotoxicity or neurologic symptoms, including like potential brain damage, because there are some research taking the like the exam for people's brain. They see some suspicious kind of change. So this high frequency of such symptom happened in your neurology system is really worth study. So that's why I said you have to first understand how they modify this virus.
Well, let me ask you, was that not true of SARS-1?
SARS-1 had low frequency of people may have some similar, like the brain kind of related symptom, but the frequency is not that high. That's why after the COVID-19, you will see that people talking about long haulers. Those people suffer the headache or other symptoms like the muscle pain and fatigue, and which cannot be easily diagnosed and treated by doctors, but it really makes people suffer in their lives. So this Lancet paper is just one example. I mean, I really encourage doctors to do more research about this, and we need to understand why it happened.
You saw it, I hate to say this out loud, but it's true. Boris Johnson, who's the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, came down with COVID-19, became very sick, wound up in the hospital. And he's a public figure, so you can, we've been watching him carefully, and he was a writer for decades, so we know a lot about what he was like. Changed completely as a person. People who know him, and I've written for the same publication that he used to run. I know a lot of people who know him say he is a different person emotionally, psychologically, since he recovered from COVID-19. I mean, you got to kind of wonder.
Yes, because this is very complicated. I mean, you only can say that like this person I'm very familiar, or it's even myself suffer this and I feel something. But this kind of things, in clinic, as I am doctor, so I can tell you it's not easy for doctor to figure out how it happened. So finally, many such people are ignored because you have no way to treat it.
That's right.
And you have no way to diagnose it. But this population, they really suffer, especially in the historic, this pandemic. We never know again and again reinfection by the mutant virus, whether one day it come to us. And we really don't know how it happened if you check the big scale statistic data. So all these things, although in the COVID-19, when it is emerging, people would ignore these things, but later on, this will be a very big potential problem in the whole population.
You're radicalizing me with this. I have to ask one other forbidden question. I noticed at the outset in Iran that a huge percentage of legislators, politicians, got COVID. And look, I just sort of wonder what the odds are of that. They seem kind of low. Why? I mean, do you think there was some effort to target certain populations?
There are people talking about that. And I know China government, according to their open documents, they also talk about genetic bioweapon to target certain populations. But what I want to say is, at least in SARS-CoV-2 now, I didn't see clear evidence that when they modify it, they purposely target some population like Latino or white people because first, human ACE2 receptor is widely distributed in any population.
Right.
And with Chinese people also have not low death rate, and just you don't know because China government cover it up.
Right.
And according to the technique at this moment, I don't think, according to my knowledge to Chinese scientists, I don't think they have this capable to purposely recruit some specific gene to target other population. But
You don't think they're capable of that right now, but they've talked about it.
No, but their misinformation actually is part of the strategy, which enhance the powerful of this unrestricted bioweapon. In China, we have early stage treatment if the people is lucky enough to get diagnosed. And we use hydroxychloroquine and many other drugs. And China also know they should not let it go all over the world. They encourage people to wear masks, although, yeah, it's not quite useful, but little bit helpful in some cases. So all these things conducted in China. But in US, I'm very surprised when I see Dr. Fauci said no early treatment, and also the international center.
We don't have early treatment for COVID.
That's terrible. You should
You
have.
wind up on a ventilator, you get sick, and if you recover at home, you're fine, or you go to the hospital and die. There's kind of no, but in China, you're saying there is early treatment.
There is, and let me explain to you the importance of early treatment. Basically, in your home, if your tap water leaked in the washroom, that is kind of early stage.
Yes.
And you switch it off, you clean the washroom, everything get well. But you let it go until it flooded your whole room. So you don't only think about the tap water, you have to think about the destruction of the whole structure,
Of course.
your furniture and moldy things. So that make it very difficult to control. Finally, your house may be ruined.
So do you think that China has, through its propaganda outlets, which would be the entire American media, has discouraged early treatment of COVID in this country?
Yes, and I really think that like Dr. Fauci and the American CDC, some top officers, they are willing to help to spread this misinformation because there's no way as a doctor, they would not realize that early treatment is so important, and there is no way for drugs like hydroxychloroquine and many other similar drugs, which is proved to be safe by WHO for years and which has a mechanism which is proved to anti-SARS-CoV-2, this kind of virus, are forbidden in US. This is very unfair and hilarious and irresponsible.
But that's not true in China. China uses hydroxychloroquine as early treatment.
They not only use that, and since 29th January last year, and Mr. Moody's media, Dr. Moore couple, has delivered a message that they found in SARS-1 people use hydroxychloroquine, so they recommend people to think about it. And then after that, China government immediately did some experiment to show they can use it because they see this is revealed, so they want to occupy it. And then in early February, PLA scientists apply hydroxychloroquine's new purpose to anti-COVID-19 as a patent in China. And later, Chairman Xi Jinping gave the award to that team for anti-COVID-19.
The Chinese military patented
For new purpose.
hydroxychloroquine
Yes.
as an early stage COVID treatment.
They didn't mention early stage. They just said anti-COVID-19. They want to cover up all the things, own everything. They are greedy.
You're blowing my mind. So there is a huge propaganda component to what
Exactly.
the Chinese government did. And almost everything that you've said has been repeated by the American media. Why would the American media repeat lies from the Chinese military?
I think partially it's because Chinese Communist Party and their friends in Western countries, they purposely do this to manipulate the media. Because for China government, propaganda is the most powerful strategy to overcome the world. They have proved it works in China already. And also for many people's own benefits, they choose to stay on this side. For example, when Lancet statement asked 27 top scientists to send. This is from Nature, and from lab is considered as conspiracy. The other scientists, they would realize if you try to fight with them, you will face the very clear thing that you will lose your career. But if you turn to help them, then you can get fundings, you can get collaborations, you get good publications, you build your future on that. And it's also like the big pharmacy. Hydroxychloroquine is cheap, but if you focus on studying the novel drugs and novel vaccine, although they are not so efficient, or maybe there are still adverse effects you have to examine, but this gives you a lot of profits. All these people have their own ideas in this, but finally you will see China government managed to have such big misinformation campaign.
There's so much, you're putting so much out there. I've got almost too many questions. I want to go back just a second. You said that you didn't believe the Chinese military was capable of targeting viruses to specific ethnic groups. They don't have that technology yet.
Not exactly.
And one of the piece of evidence you gave was that there's not a particularly low death rate in China. We don't really know what it is because they lie. How many people do you think have died of COVID?
In China?
Yes, in China.
We really don't know, because even China government may not know that. In China, all these kind of statistic numbers is up to the quota government give you. This is common sense. For example, I can tell you thousands of ways China manipulates the patient number. They can control the diagnostic kit in the hospital. So if you have patient number more than the case number, you cannot get diagnosed. And also they can narrow down the patient. For example, people died of COVID, but they will use ventilator to prolong the patient's life until the day they found, oh, it's negative of the virus now. Then they remove the ventilator, said this guy died of other problem, but you say COVID is negative, it's not COVID patient. All these things. And the lockdown in China is totally different as happened in US. They just lock down you in your room and lock your room. And then you can be hungry, died at home, which happened in Wuhan at that time.
People starved to death in their homes.
Yeah, you don't know whether he has COVID or not.
But they weren't allowed to leave, so they just died of starvation.
Yes, because government control it. That's why China claims that they can control COVID very well, and they use propaganda through TikTok, media to show it to democratic country, even make Americans, some innocent people, thought China is great, we should learn from them. But trust me, none of you want really experience such terrible policy.
Do you think that China encouraged American authorities to lock down the United States?
I think that is a policy made by your government and your professional authorities. And in some cases, maybe when it's very, very emerging and kind of lockdown can make it a little bit better. But you know, lockdown always causes more problems, like in people's psychology,
yes.
People feel nervous and desperate, and your economic goes down, all these things. And the thing is, if this virus still stays there, and you don't give the efficient drug and treatment, and you only use lockdown, and also combine with maybe vaccine, which is definitely not good enough now, it cannot solve the problem. And China still stays there. They still can do more things to give you trouble.
What do you make of the vaccines? You studied vaccines. What do you make of the way the United States government is distributing vaccines?
Okay, it's like the political correct. We always need to tell people we are not anti-vaccine. And I have my universal influenza vaccine patent on pending. What I want to tell people is vaccine, I know for people after years education, they believe this kind of injection is kind of magic to help you, especially in the pandemic, can make you not that nervous and should be kind of protective. But the thing is, first, the SARS-CoV-2 virus had the character from like the SARS-1. So this kind of virus itself has something called antibody-dependent enhancement. This means when you get the vaccine or even you get the infection, I mean, the antibody in your body are not all good antibodies. So I always tell people it's like if you want to get this kind of antibody in your body, you have to think about it can next time when you meet the mutant virus, there is chance some of the antibody will become harmful and even help the mutant virus to damage your body. And this is shown in SARS-1, and also
Yes.
it is proved
They
by...
stopped vaccinating against SARS-1 because
That's
of this,
why
right?
we don't have the successful vaccines against SARS-1. This and ADE and also like the allergy, a very serious problem. And SARS-2, there are already Beijing, Japan, American teams has published data to show that they have seen such phenomena after COVID-19. So this is something we should consider. And also, what I really want to emphasize is, all the vaccine we have now have the spike protein from the virus. What do you know exactly about the spike protein? Spike protein compared to the backbone of the bat virus has more than 30% difference. Imagine how much modification to make the 30% difference compared to the backbone, and how much we know now. I examined, and from the genome, I can identify some function. Combined with people's data, you can prove it. But there are other modifications we still cannot explain. And also, in biology, there are always random outcomes when you do such modification. So what exactly we know about spike protein? And we have seen data to show only spike protein can make the vessel damage. So I really recommend the big pharmacy to spend more time to study vaccine safety and to improve it. And meanwhile, I really don't think we should have the vaccine passport. It is dangerous and irresponsible for the populations.
Sure seems that way to me. When you say that there are, in science, there are always unknown consequences of things, particularly when you don't understand the virus that you're inoculating against. As you pointed out, we don't understand it. We can't even say conclusively where it came from. So what kind of long-term effects are you worried about? You mentioned the neurological and psychological effects. Are you worried about physical effects of this virus and of the vaccines?
As I already explained in my third report, and I try to let people think about that, we see the abnormal coagulation problem, like blood clot. And this is something you should think about, because if there is damage to your vessel, and we know the human ACE receptor is all over the vessel system. So you don't know what will cause, and the blood clot can be hidden. But sometimes when they come out, it can give you trouble. And also autoimmune disease, I think people should think about. That means your immune system get disorder, and then they start to attack yourself. So this can be triggered by virus infection, but in virus like SARS-CoV-2, we know that first, this kind of virus, based on our evidence and experience from SARS-1, it can lead to cytokine storm, which is a disorder in your immune system, and make your immune system start to attack you in the overreaction. So these things can happen if, in the worst situation, and it can lead to such immune problem, and also it can lead to your autoimmune disorder, especially like in children. We see some doctor has published it early last year to talk about similar Kawasaki. That kind of disease happened in children after COVID. So this Kawasaki is autoimmune disorder. And this kind of autoimmune disorder, if it happens, it can be hidden and can be lifelong carried, difficult to be treated, but target the multi-organs. We definitely don't want it happen to ourselves and the children. And there are other things like ADE and antibody-dependent enhancement. And this kind of things can be led by, again and again, reinfection of the mutant virus. So we don't know if the virus still circulating around us according to its character, the mutant generated, and how could we deal with this kind of mutant if we cannot control it sufficiently?
Holy shit. This is upsetting. Let me ask you about your life. So you are sent in December of 2019 to help figure out where this virus came from. Your supervisor says, be careful, don't ask too many questions that might implicate the Chinese government, but you persist in doing that. You do ask those questions, and you come to the conclusions you've just described. Then what happens? You're in Hong Kong or China at the time. When do you come here and why? When did you come to the United States?
I start to review it from January 19th last year, and I leave Hong Kong on 28th April. So before that, I try to stay in Manila because it's difficult for a person to leave their home, to leave their country, and I still working on the COVID-19. So I published the one Lancet infectious disease paper about the human viral load difference in severe and mild cases, which had very high citation and helped the drug development. And also I had another Nature paper, which is using the hamster model to test the transmissibility. As I told you that lack of knowledge of transmissibility, I mean use the wrong animal model in China, makes this outbreak out of control.
The Chinese government didn't understand.
Yeah.
So we've often said, the World Health Organization came out and said, this is not transmissible from person to person. They got that from the Chinese government. You're saying the Chinese government actually believed that.
No, they know this can be human-to-human transmission.
Okay.
But they are lying, and WHO help them to cover up. But for the real animal model for transmissibility, before they release the virus to the neighborhood, they didn't know that.
Right. Okay. So originally they didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what I told you. Random results come out.
Interesting. So you left Hong Kong in April.
Yes, at that time I got warning that China government already located me, and they decide to make me disappear. So
make you disappear.
Yes, because all the things I start to tell the world make China government has to again and again have very quick and rush response, which make us have more opportunity to see their mistakes. And I keep reading it. It's like Lancet statement from February they published. I already reviewed it through Mr. Luder's media. I said that is lying. They are organizing this kind of misinformation.
Well, let me pause and ask. We hear that phrase a lot, make someone disappear. We know that journalists in Wuhan disappeared, physicians disappeared, researchers disappeared. What does that mean? Were they killed? Were they put in jail?
They can be different ways, and not only make you physically disappear. I mean, no matter you're in a jail or you're killed, the important thing is to make your whole person doesn't exist in the world. It's like your voice, your work are all erased, and your families cannot talk, and people should have to forgive you, not forget you, and even there are rumors to come out and change people's memory to you. This is totally terrible. The main thing is to keep, make sure no one understand or hear what you are talking about.
So you got warning from someone.
Yes.
And so what did you just got on a plane and flew to the United States?
Yeah, so I was lucky because when I delivered the message out, I managed to contact Mr. Luder. He's a real anti-Chinese Communist Party YouTube blogger. His work is similar as you in doing the news report and comments. So we had 3 months kind of collaboration. And then when he informed me, at that time, he managed to help me to get one foundation's help, Rule of Law Foundation in New York. That foundation's objective is to help the anti-Chinese Communist Party's people to get protected. And then I got foundation's help, and then I managed to escape Hong Kong and came to New York to do my later research.
What happened to your family?
My family know nothing about this because this is kind of protection for them from the beginning. And all my family now under very strict surveillance and control by the Ministry of State Security in China. And I have to cut off my connection with them. If not, China government keep to brainwash them and try to threaten me or bring me back to China. And on the other hand, it's very sad that my husband, who I stayed for almost 8 years together in Hong Kong, also my colleague in WHO, he's the one help China government try to bring me back. So before I leave, he tried to harm me for several times. And
Tried to harm you?
Yes.
How?
I didn't mention it in public, but I think I can briefly tell you that including different ways, because I'm doctor, I know how I can feel the difference when they put the drug into my food, and which make me sleep for a whole day. And also try to bring me to the seaside at that time when I'm already dizzy. And also my heart had serious problem at that time when the day before I leave Hong Kong, I check it in the hospital. My heart rate at rest is over 130, which is totally different as my health condition before and makes the doctors very shocked. All this together, and because my husband is helping Chinese Communist Party and helping his supervisor Malik Paris, they don't want me to leave Hong Kong to tell the things to the world. And even when since I came to US, my husband has tried many ways to help China government to disturb my appearance in public, including the first time my appearance in Fox News in July. And recently, I got information that my husband got help from China government to have the H-1B working visa for 2 years permission in US and came to US, try to make some accident to make me silent or disappeared. So that's why I'm very kind of...
Wait, your husband came to this country, to the United States.
Now he's in US, according to the I-94 record.
And you believe he has come here to do harm to you?
Yes, and we also have some intelligence to show that. And he's under the help from someone in US, because you cannot get H-1B without help from US, and also get the help from China government, because if you don't have that, you cannot come to US to get such visa to leave Hong Kong U. So he come here to do something, try to harm me again. So that's why I'm not very careful, and I don't want to give any chance let him contact me and make me silenced.
Can you tell us his name?
His name is Ranawaka Arakiki Prasad Mahindra Perera. It's a long name in Sri Lanka.
He's Sri Lankan.
Yes.
Have you gone to authorities in the United States, to the police, to the FBI, to tell them about this?
FBI knew that. And also because my husband has threatened me before I leave Hong Kong, he told me clearly when he heard I get the warning and I tried to persuade him go with me to US, his immediate response is, don't contact those people. I don't allow you to contact those people. If you go to US, I will kill all of them, including Mr. Lu did. And also, I asked him, what can you do? He said, we have thousands of ways to do that, and they are everywhere. We can never escape from them. And I asked, will you do the suicide bomb? He didn't deny it, and he just said there are thousands of ways to do that.
Why would a Sri Lankan want to help the Chinese Communist Party?
I don't quite understand their motive, but what I want to say is the professor, Malik Paris, is also from Sri Lanka. And my husband said he's also the Communist International. And my husband is the best helper for Malik Paris. And also, Malik Paris is an international bridge between China and also the international scientific world. So they are clearly deep inside into these things.
I mean, that's one of the most remarkable stories I've ever heard in my life. Are you, I mean, you clearly feel like your life is threatened right now.
Yes, and I'm used to that because, to be honest, from the moment I decided to deliver the message out, I knew whatever can happen. Especially at that time, I was still in Hong Kong. I see Hong Kong protesters disappeared every day, and their naked body was found in the sea or from the high building. But government said, "Oh, there is nothing suspicious. They just want to commit suicide." And I heard how some people went to the protest to ask for democracy, and then the whole family, even the people live in the same building, were forced to shut up. They cannot mention it. So all these things make me understand that at any moment from that time, I'm in a life threatening. But I'm lucky.
I mean, there supposedly is an investigation by the Biden administration into where this virus came from. Have they spoken to you?
To be honest, I get contact from different people, and I don't quite understand whether they have some official position or not. I'm just very honest to people. If they come to ask me the things, I explain to them, I provide evidence. And I don't know whether Biden's administration have sent someone in some way to contact me, but I present the evidence, explain it to anyone who want to look into the truth of COVID-19, and especially the people now who can have the power to change the policy to China and let people understand what happened and help to hold China accountable. So I'm always open to this kind of no matter officers or investigators, and I hope Biden administration can do a good job because evidence already here. If you ignore it, if you don't understand it, it's easy for people to be misled by Chinese Communist Party.
I hope this interview helps. And
I hope so, and I really think you have done a great job.
Well, I mean, it's just one of the most, on so many levels, amazing things I've ever heard. Doctor, thank you for spending all this time with us today.
Thank you, Tak. I just want to stress one thing is, people would thought that low death rate cannot be a bioweapon, but according to China's concept, low death rate, even lower than 2%, can be powerful because the death rate, if it's too high, it's difficult for this thing to spread,
That's right.
transmit. But low death rate still can keep some labor. And also it can destroy the medical facilities, economic, social disorder, and finally, broke your democracy.
That's exactly right.
Everything based on one principle. The virus looks like from nature. And once people realize it's not consistent with the nature evolution theory, the misinformation and denial, as you see now, is part of the strategy to help using this bioweapon to achieve their goals. If you understand this, everything can be explained.
Yes. Well, it's certainly been effective. It has destroyed our democracy.
Yes.
Doctor, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Great to see you.
Tucker.
Amazing. The name of the show is Tucker Carlson. Today, new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Fox Nation. We will see you every night, 8 p.m. on the Fox News Channel.